This is the Joe Watson Show podcast, Northern Ireland's smallest podcast.
It is indeed. How you doing, folks? Hope you're well this fine, whatever day it is. How you doing, folks? Hope you're well. I'll tell you what I was doing this week. I tweeted Elon Musk. I did. I said, hi, Elon. And as you would probably think, yeah, he didn't reply back. Elon has said that Twitter may face bankruptcy as some staff quit and top regulator issues warning. Oh dear. Twitter has announced a lot of different changes. You can actually pay to have a blue tick, verified account as well. But let's not just talk about that there. We have a podcast to produce. And folks, I'm going to start this week by saying, if you listen on to the end of the show, I'm going to bring you some, well, it's some news. It's news that I've actually had to think about, and I've had to sit down and just have a lot of thought into it. And yeah, you'll probably notice by the change in my tone of voice that it's not something that I've had to take lightly. I mean, it's took me a few days, a few weeks. Just to think about what the future of this podcast is, and yeah, you'll just have to wait till the end of the show to find out the bit of news that I'm going to talk about. But anyway, let's keep this party going. Daisy has made a return to the podcast this week because last week she was grazing, or she retired or something. Daisy was rejected for I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Daisy, would you let me talk to the good folk that listen into the podcast? Daisy was rejected from I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here this year because the reason being was she wasn't famous enough, and Daisy had just lots of the... I know, Daisy. I know, daughter. I know. Then myself and John... You remember this?
You're listening to the Joe Watson Show podcast, Northern Ireland's smallest podcast.
Yes, John, what do you mean by Northern Ireland's smallest podcast?
Joe, mate, I only say what's on the script.
I never asked you to say the smallest podcast.
Well, come on, Joe, you're hardly as big as your man Geddes.
Rub salt in the wound, why don't you?
And let's face it, you're nowhere near as big as Rab's following.
Well,
besides,
that's true.
This makes you unique, being Northern Ireland's smallest podcast.
Yeah, I don't like the way you say smallest, but you are my voiceover guy.
Best in the business, mate.
Suppose you best say that again, then.
Best in the business.
No. What people are listening to.
You're listening to the Joe Watson Show podcast, Northern Ireland's smallest podcast.
Cheers, John.
Anytime, Joe. Oh, and Joe?
Yeah?
You owe me money, mate.
Moving on. So I love playing that there because that just showed my voiceover guy John. Yes, that shows his and I wittiness that I was able to send him a script and he was able to have his own way with it. So yeah, so I'm laughing at a text message I've just received in from a friend of the podcast, the delivery man, which is Neil. How you doing, Neil? Neil's actually lying in the bath at the minute. No, he's not lying in the bath listening to this because he's just lying in the bath while I'm recording this. The bath. I don't know why I'm emphasizing the bath. The bath. The bath. Neil is lying in the bath, scrubbing his elbows. So, big friend of the show. A podcast as well. Yeah. So, yeah. So, what was I saying? What was I saying? Yes. So, Neil and I, we were up to go, not Neil. John and I were up to go to I'm a Celebrity as well, but we turned it down. We just said, nah, it's all right. So, yeah. So, that's the crack. That's the crack this week. I'm just moving on. Let's go to the number joking. So, I've had some ideas, and I will talk about them later on in the show. Later on the podcast, after Ali takes you through this week's entertainment exchange. looking forward to it. So we're just going to cut right in there. Ollie, take it away.
Hi, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Ollie, how are you?
I'm good. Good to be back on the Joe Watson podcast and have the Entertainment Exchange back on the airwaves.
Absolutely. And I'm excited to hear what you have on offer this week.
Well, I've a wee bit of everything, I think, here. There's got to be something for everybody here. So hopefully we're able to cover all the bases. A wee bit of TV, a wee bit of movies.
Brilliant.
A tiny bit of gaming news, and a wee bit of something for everybody.
Brilliant. Looking forward to it.
Okay. The first thing probably is to have a wee chat about just general TV.
Okay.
Something everybody's able to relate to, I'm sure. And you can't really not turn on the TV at the minute and not come across them two Geordie boys and a pile of celebrities getting covered in gunge and eating parts of animals that probably are best not eaten.
I know. How did they?
Obviously, we're talking about I'm a Celebrity.
How did they know that these things were edible?
Some man's had to go at it first.
Yes, I'm a Celebrity.
Hopefully not ever me.
I'm a Celebrity. Get me out of here, 2022.
Yeah,
and there's they've an array of people in at the minute, but there's one who's left early.
Yes, Olivia Atwood.
That's her.
I was doing a wee bit of research into that, and from what I gather, obviously keeping all legal angles of the Joe Watson podcast show covered. Allegedly, it was that she broke a COVID bubble.
Are they still doing bubbles?
Apparently, yeah. Do you know the way you notice, like the Rangers, the sort of the wee helper guys that they have, we're still wearing masks.
Yes.
And I think it's something to do maybe with the Australian laws.
Yes, they're still wearing face coverings.
A bit stricter and stuff, and obviously to keep the show running.
Yes.
And to not risk affecting the show, people getting COVID and having an outbreak, and then them having to close it down. They were keeping very tight bubbles. So apparently that's what happened. She broke the COVID bubble, and it would have meant another week of isolation. Right. So
I suppose
she was asked to basically
leave.
Basically leave, because by the time she would have came back, the show would be half over.
That's true, yeah.
And then obviously the other big one from the show is how do you want to describe him? A good old politician, Matt Hancock.
Could you say good and politician in the same line? We're a wee bit cynical.
Good for the entertainment value of everybody voting him for all the challenges, and I think that's how it's going to keep going.
It is, definitely.
I think what he's got to do there, you've got to say probably, is if he's able to somehow manage the challenges, be good at them, get all the stars, and not sort of kick up much of a fuss or be much of a drama queen about it, then people will get bored of it probably, and they'll start voting somebody else. I think that's his only option there in trying to get out of it. And
there's so many in there that haven't had a chance yet to do a trial.
Yeah, and in a way, some of them might think that's good, but I think in a way, the ones, if you look back through the previous series, the ones that go on to win, or the ones that do well out of it after they come out, and get good publicity and stuff, are the ones that do the challenges.
Yes, absolutely.
Obviously, the celebrities are all going in for different reasons.
Yes.
Most of them you'd have thought's going in for a bit of publicity, a bit of, raise their profile a bit and make a wee bit of money in that. So if you're in that situation as a celebrity, you're wanting to do the challenges. You're wanting to get more exposure.
Correct.
And that's how you do it, is through the challenges.
Absolutely. And he's nailing them all, basically.
Yeah. So,
I don't know how he did on the recording of this podcast we're doing. I don't know how he's done.
Yeah, I'm not sure there, obviously, and I'm trying to keep as up to date with it as I can. It's not easy, but there's a lot of stuff to watch.
Well, I'm gonna
stuff to do at the minute that always keep me occupied. But
I'm going to let you into a little secret. It's actually running on my little TV in the studio, but it's muted. And I saw the challenge, but I don't know how many stars they got. So
Well, we'll see. We'll soon see. Surely, I would say later on.
Oh, wow.
I think to quickly close out on the I'm a Celebrity. I think it's one of the probably the best of what reality
Yes.
TV. It's a very interesting sort of divisive subject for a lot of people. A lot of people don't see much, sort of proper value in it. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it proper entertainment in a way? And it's hard to argue with it. It sort of is.
It is.
It's one of those. It's like car crash TV. You shouldn't really be watching it, but it's hard not to watch it.
There is this section of the viewers think it's actually run its course, and they're just sort of scraping the bottom of the barrel for celebrities. Like,
yeah, Well, to be fair, now there's some pretty good ones there. Boy George and
Chris Moyles.
I think an early pick for a winner would have been Mike Tyndall.
Yes.
But I think he's a man who sort of covers a lot of bases.
He does, absolutely, yeah.
He's he seems to be able to tackle most of the stuff that you would think the jungle would throw at him. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
The way he handled that huntsman spider, like, I would have been screaming like Scarlet. I would have been.
Well, I have to say, I'm not too sure how I would have reacted myself. I've always tried to think that I would be pretty good at most of the challenges. I don't really think of any phobias or anything like that. But the eating things are, I think, what would get me.
Yeah.
I think any of the sort of other physical type things, I've no fear of any types of animals or anything.
Did you see the one Matt Hancock did the other day there, the other night? The octopus thing.
Yeah.
Underwater, and they talked about baby crocs. That was no baby croc. That was that was a teenager. And not thinking because he could easily killed him.
I'm pretty good, I think, even with water things. I've done a bit of scuba diving in the time and stuff, so I think I could manage it okay. I say I think, but you always know when you're in that situation yourself, it might be a slightly different situation.
You've just given me an idea for the Christmas special, and that's something I want to announce later on. But there will
very good.
There's going to be a Christmas special of the show, and you're invited, obviously, because you're part of the podcast.
I'm waiting on the Christmas invitation coming out in the post, hopefully.
There may be a Bush Tucker trial. or a Joe Tucker trial.
Well, I'll maybe then happen to be washing my hair that night. We'll have to see.
So keep going there, Ali.
Right. Well, in terms of other sort of what's on regular TV there at the minute, there's a very highly reviewed series has just appeared on BBC, on BBC Two. The first episode was last night. It's called The English.
Oh.
And it's
is it like an Amish thing? No.
It's it's starring Emily Blunt, and it's like a Western, basically a Western series.
Yes.
It's all on iPlayer at the minute as well.
Okay.
So it'll be weekly on BBC Two, and then every episode is already on BBC iPlayer. It's getting 5-star reviews across the board. Emily Blunt is a lady. It's like set in the early 1900s. It's let's just say she's a woman that's been wronged, and she's out to take no prisoners. Basically, she comes across a few untoward people. It seems it's from the bits I've seen of it. I haven't obviously had a chance to watch it yet. I'll be perfectly honest. But going by the reviews and all the stuff I've read and everything about it, it definitely seems very high quality, very highly regarded. So it would definitely be worth checking out, I think, from what I see. It's got high production values. Looks really, really good.
Very good. And what else is on the list there?
So if you're coming away from what's on normal TV, if you're moving over to the streaming services, it's hard to not come across The Crown. Obviously now the season 5 started this week on Netflix.
That's right.
And so as I was talking there about a show on BBC with high production values, obviously The Crown on Netflix is probably one of the number one shows that's been ever made for true high quality production values. Very, very well made. Great cast.
Absolutely.
And obviously with this season, they've completely renewed the cast again. Yes. So it's all got all new actors. You have Amelia Staunton as the Queen, Jonathan Pryce as Prince Philip, Dominic West as Charles. Elizabeth Debicki as Diana. Some of other MCU fans might know her. She's popped up as cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor. So you might recognize her from that. And then the big one that got me was Johnny Lee Miller as John Major.
That's right, yes.
So again, it's only just came out, and I say that it only just came out yesterday, and there's so much going on at the minute. I haven't had a chance to just check much of it out yet.
Yes.
It's brand new. So, but again, going by what I've read and from what I've watched of all the previous 4 seasons, high quality, very definitely very well worth a watch. I think for anybody, there's something there for anybody. You know, you've got the bit of history, the bit of drama, family and political drama. You know, definitely. I think it's going to be worth a watch. It's one of those shows that I call it's a good couple show.
Aye.
Me and my wife watch it together. It's one of those things. There's something for everybody. You can watch it. You know, with other people, and there'll be something in it for everybody.
Aye.
So, have you been watching it yourself, Joe? Have you had a chance yet?
I haven't had a chance yet. No.
No, I know it's brand new, so that's why I thought I would definitely mention it and cover it.
Definitely,
it definitely seems to be something that's getting a lot of publicity at the minute.
Aye. So, what's next then, Ollie?
So coming away from Netflix, I know I'm really bad. I have to admit, I'm really bad, but this is the joys of having 3 kids and working shifts. But again, I've been reading a lot about it. I want to. This is one that's on my list. It's on Disney Plus.
Right.
It's the new Star Wars show Andor.
Right. I was never a Star Wars fan, but go ahead.
Right. Well, I think this is what they're saying. I don't know if you're not a Star Wars fan, you're maybe not too aware of the movie Rogue One. It was one of the more modern movies that they made.
Right. Okay.
It's set just before they do like a raid on the Death Star in one of the movies.
Okay.
In one of the original movies.
Yes.
And then obviously this is with that cast from that movie, but then going back a little bit further and showing you how they came to come and do this heist essentially, carry out this plan of infiltrating the Death Star, to sabotage it, and it's a lot more grounded, a lot more. I don't know if you maybe didn't see The Mandalorian. I don't know if you were aware of it. It's a lot more sort of. No. It's more like a Western. It's very gritty. It's not as much about big spaceships and things like that. It's more people on the ground, how they're dealing with their everyday life, and having this oppression of this, empire that's wanting to sort of change their way of life, and how the normal people react to these things, what they have to do to survive. And again, this is following on from that. Going on by The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, which I enjoyed, really, really, really enjoyed all those shows in Disney Plus, the new Star Wars shows. This seems to be following that on, and again, it's getting great reviews. And if for people that maybe think Star Wars isn't my thing, that it's too much space and stuff.
I was always a Trekkie.
I'm not into the sci-fi stuff. It's something I definitely think people could go back, start with maybe The Mandalorian, and I don't know how you can't not enjoy that show. It's so good.
I was always a Trekkie.
Yeah.
I was always a Star Trek fan.
So was I. I grew up with The Next Generation.
I love The Next Generation. Love it.
Mm-hmm. And it was that bad. It was on like twice a day. It was on Sky One or whatever. Like twice a day, and I was always watching it. And I even got my whole family sort of into it. Whether they liked it or not, they all ended up becoming sort of adopted Trekkies, if you want to put it that way.
Who was your favorite Star Trek officer?
I think you've got to love Worf.
Yes.
From The Next Generation, and obviously Data.
Data, yes.
Two sort of very different characters, and
Riker.
They would often have good comedy.
Yes.
Sort of unintentional comedy, which is sometimes always the best. It's not forced. It's just situations that they seem to find themselves in, or one-liners that they come out with. Even in a non sort of comedic
Yeah.
scene, they'll do something that was funny, but they can be very serious at the same time as well.
I never really knew
Yeah,
what to make of William Riker because I don't know.
yeah,
It was a
Riker
mixed
always
bag.
had a good relationship, I think, with Picard, and they
Yes,
always
he did.
seemed to, work off each other well.
He
I
did.
think it's
Yep.
both the two actors and obviously the characters.
Yep.
And I think there's new Star Wars or Star Trek, I should say. Oh, it's blasphemy. Star Trek
No, you're okay.
shows coming out on the new streaming service, Paramount Plus.
Oh, yes.
I think there's a few of them on there. So that's actually a nice little segue there to a couple of shows I noticed that's on the new Paramount Plus streaming service.
Before you go over there, what did you think of Star Trek Enterprise?
Yeah, I really liked it as well.
Did you? I wasn't a fan of
my favorite.
It was the
actually,
uniform.
When I think about it, the Next Generation, but probably my favorite as well would all tying in with it would
Deep
be
Space Nine.
Deep Space Nine.
That was Whoopi Goldberg, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was in occasional episodes of the Next Generation as well.
Colin Meaney, what one was he in?
He was in both as well.
Yes,
it was like crossover. He only did occasional, probably appearances in the first one or two seasons, and then his character sort of left Enterprise and moved to Deep Space Nine, and then that's where his character took over there. And obviously they did the whole Dominion War storyline. I think is one of the best storylines that's ever been in any Star Trek TV shows.
So you were saying about Paramount Plus?
Yes. I don't know if many people have got onto this service yet. And if people want to check out my Facebook group, the Entertainment Exchange,
absolutely.
I put up a link there maybe last week where it was able to get people an offer of a free month trial. Normally, you'd only get a 1 week trial.
That's right.
But I'm not sure if it's still active. If not, I would advise people to keep an eye out around coming up on Black Friday.
Aye.
All the streaming services. In fact, that's something I'll give that wee bit of advice that relates to everything. For your Now TV, often do Black Friday deals. Disney Plus. That's how I get my Disney Plus subscription. I will get it yearly. And then you can, rather than paying it monthly, you'll pay it one-off year payment around Black Friday.
Yeah.
And it always saves you a bit of money. Because obviously there's so many of these services now that it's hard to keep up with them. It's, obviously with the way things are in the world, it's hard to maybe justify all the money that goes into them.
Yeah.
Paying for all these services every month. So you want to try and save as much money as you can. And so try and get yourself a deal for Paramount Plus. I definitely think at the minute there's a few good shows on it.
There is. I've been on there myself. Yellowstone, yeah.
Highly regarded drama with Kevin Costner, and it's got a bit. It's funny. There's a lot of tie-in with what I'm covering here tonight. But there's a bit of a Western vibe to it.
That's right.
And then the other one, the new one that's just coming out this week, is the Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone.
Yes.
And this is a bit of a gangster show. And Stallone is a bit of a mafia kingpin. So it's definitely looking very interesting. Again, it's getting good reviews.
That's
so
right.
I can't wait to check that one out as well on Paramount Plus. And I think that's pretty much that enough to keep people going there, I would say, on all
we're up to date
and streaming services. And the other big thing that's happening this week, or whenever you listen to this podcast, I'm sure you'll maybe heard about it or seen it already, is Black Panther coming out in the cinema.
Yes, I've heard a few people going to see that.
Yes, you can't really avoid it. And this will be, I would guarantee, a massive movie. Usually the Marvel movies are big, but Black Panther Wakanda Forever, I think, will be bigger than most because obviously of the unfortunate passing of the star Chadwick Boseman, who played T'Challa in the first movie. In real life, obviously, he's passed away. Very sad situation, but I think Disney have handled it well. They didn't recast the role.
No.
And so what this movie apparently will be dealing with will be the repercussions of he's obviously then passed in the MCU universe as well.
Right.
So how the characters will be dealing with losing, their king of their kingdom.
Aye.
And sort of trying to move on from that. And from what I've heard and read, I think it's a very emotional movie, but as well as having great action, the sort of things you'd expect from a big budget Marvel comic book movie.
Yes.
I definitely think it will be something I mightn't get to this week or this weekend, but definitely by the time next week rolls around, I'll have seen it. I'm really, really looking forward to it. And as well as that, I'm obviously looking forward to all the new MCU movies that will be coming out next year. How do we look through them when I was checking out the MCU stuff?
Aye.
You have Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. That's coming out in the spring. Then you have Guardians of the Galaxy 3, the Marvels. You have more TV shows, Secret Invasion, Loki season 2. So I don't know if there's anybody that's not an MCU fan these days.
This is it, yeah.
And that's the one thing, if you're probably able to get Disney Plus and get a deal on it or something, there's no reason not to get caught up. There's about 26 movies now, about 8 shows. So over these long, dark winter nights, you don't want to go outside, do too much. Why not stick on a bit of Disney Plus and get caught up with your Marvel movies? There's enough to keep you occupied. Very
good. And what else is on the list there, Ali?
So moving on from that, I had just a wee bit of other general news that I spotted.
Certainly. Cool.
Henry Cavill has been confirmed to be coming back as Superman for the DC movies. He had been starring as the Witcher, Geralt of in the Witcher on Netflix.
Okay.
But he's had to give up that role to be able to come back as Superman. And I think the studio there has had a lot of upheaval. They were trying to sell it. It was bought over. People weren't sure what was happening with some of these movies. But it's now been confirmed. Henry Cavill will be back. There will be Man of Steel 2. Cool. So again, really, really looking forward to that one. And another thing there, just spotted this, yesterday actually, John Wick 4 trailer. Just released. And again, come on to the Entertainment Exchange on the Facebook group. Yep. I have the trailer up there. Excuse me. And it absolutely looks amazing.
Good.
Keanu Reeves is back. Looks as how would you put it? Looks as extraordinary as ever.
I'm sure.
Definitely one of my favorite actors.
Yes.
Even though people sometimes would argue with the quality of his performances, somehow he's very much a one-note sort of actor. But I just love all the movies he's in. A wee bit of a insight there is that The Matrix is my favorite movie of all time.
Yep.
So obviously I have a bit of love for my Keanu. And so John Wick 4 coming out March next year in cinemas. Cool. It looks absolutely amazing. So plenty of time over the winter, caught up with John Wick 1, 2, and 3.
Yep, absolutely.
And then what else did we have here? A wee bit of gaming news. I seen God of War Ragnarok has just come out this week for PlayStation.
Okay.
It's getting 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, cool. Reviews across the board. Masterpiece. I love the first game. I played and completed the first game. An absolute masterpiece of a game. Good action in the game, but also very a lot of depth to it, and how you level up your character and how you can progress through the game. And then the storyline is like so cinematic, very, very. You might as well be watching a movie sometimes.
Aye.
Great performances. So a highly recommended game there. Just come out this week as well if you're on PlayStation. God of War Ragnarok. And that pretty much leads me up to the last wee segment I had thought out here, where I have a question from last time I was on. I asked people if they had any sort of questions or comments
Absolutely.
or things they wanted us to have a discussion on.
Absolutely.
And I had a message from our good friend Rab.
Oh yes, Rob. Yes. Hello, Rob.
You know that boy.
The big famous Rob.
He was asking me what my thoughts were on the Terminator franchise. On our last episode, we were sort of talking about at one point, some times when they try to bring back movies from the 80s, does it hurt the original movies? What way does it affect? I use the term, does it dilute the brand? Does it make you not appreciate those original movies as much?
Yes.
And I think with the Terminator movies, I think there is a wee bit of that. Terminator 1 and 2 is all-time classics. And I know me and Rab are obviously, saying yourself, Joe, are all of a similar age. And I think from that era, you had the Terminator, you had RoboCop, Aliens, Predator. These are all some of my all-time favorite movies, and they've all had, attempts to bring them back.
Mars Attacks, don't be joking.
Yeah, sequels, all sorts of things that maybe, in hindsight, would have been better. Better been left and just leave it.
But
my best example of that is always Back to the Future. Original 80s cult classic. And it's been left alone.
It seems to be on every Sunday on ITV2.
Yeah. So so I think Rab's pretty much, I'm in agreement with him on this one. That some of the sequels, while good in places, we're never going to live up to those original movies, and it's hard. It's one of those things. If you're a band and you have a hit song and you go to bring out your next song, or you're an author, you write a book.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. I have a wee bit of an entertainment exchange for you, Ollie.
Okay.
We were talking a few weeks ago about Hocus Pocus. Well, apparently there's talks about a Hocus Pocus 3, the final installment.
Oh, dear.
I don't think they're going to wait 29 years for this one.
Oh, dear. I would say there's probably not. We'll see if Bette Midler would still be kicking about in 29 years.
That's it. And I watched a thing on Netflix around Halloween called Hellhole. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a Polish dubbed movie.
Okay.
It's described as horror, but to me it was more of a psychological thriller.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen that one.
It's kind of like, it plays on religion and horror, but it more gets in under your skin, and you have to think, what the heck is going on here?
Sounds good. Sounds like my sort of thing.
I want you to go and see that and let me know what you think about it.
Very good. I'll have to check that one out. And funny, you just reminded me there of something on when you mentioned Netflix as well. It cropped into my head. There's a movie on it there at the minute, All Quiet on the Western Front.
I've seen it, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yes, and I think as we're recording this, it's in around Remembrance Day, Armistice Day. I think anybody that wants to have a true appreciation of how the horrible those wars were, and that the genuine heroes on both sides, because this is taken from the German point of view.
Yeah.
If you turn on the movie on Netflix, it automatically starts in English dub, but you can select and change that language back to the original German, and it's from the German point of view. And without doubt, one of the most harrowing movies you'll probably ever see. Very, very good production values on this again. Very well made. I can't think of anybody that won't watch this movie and have come away with some sort of appreciation for the soldiers and all the young lads that went to war and unfortunately never came back. And it's definitely at this time of year something I generally
Absolutely.
would like. I always like watching a war movie at this time of year around that time because it always brings it back into my mind about
Absolutely.
how there's certain things we take for granted and some of the feats of people from the past need to be remembered. And definitely, if you're along those lines and thinking the same as me, All Quiet on the Western Front on Netflix
I must have a look out for it.
is highly recommended as well. There at the minute, just come out in the last few weeks.
No bother at all. Is there anything else you want to add, Ali?
That's pretty much me, Joe. I don't know if there's anything you had.
No,
I
it's
think I
just my
tried to
input.
get a wee bit of everything there for people.
Yes.
I don't know if that's what we'll maybe stick with that sort of format.
Aye.
We'll see going forward what we're going to do. If people maybe want us to concentrate more on movies one week, TV the next, or do we just keep a little mixture of everything every week?
Get in touch, folks. It's all on the website there, joewatsonshow.com. Let us know what you
exactly.
want Ali to look at and myself to talk about.
It's us on here blethering, but at the same time, we're no point us on here blethering without people listening to us and giving us a bit of feedback. And it's the listener's show as much as it is your show.
Absolutely, of course.
So I would say give us a bit of feedback there. Obviously, get in touch with me on the Entertainment Exchange Facebook group.
Correct.
And we'll see what way we want to work it.
This podcast is by no means a one-man show. This is, there's a lot of yourself, your input there. There's the listeners' input. There's so many different people that are involved in the backroom staff that are unpaid backroom staff that are, they've input and stuff. So you're paying me a fortune, Joe. You shouldn't be trying to give away that. Keep any modesty here. We might as well be honest about the thing. Absolutely.
I'm expecting that envelope to come with that invite for that Christmas party to be stuffed full of cash.
We haven't decided. There's a few people and I that are talking about the Christmas episode. Haven't decided if it's going to be live, as in we'll record it, but it'll be going out live. But there'll be the recording and will go out another day where it'll be available. But we'll do a live version as well.
Yeah, sure.
We haven't decided yet what we're doing. We'll get there.
I'm up for anything, Joe, as you know.
And I'll see about getting some Joe Tucker trials.
Sounds interesting. Let's just say we'll see where that ends up. Hopefully, it doesn't end up with eating any animal parts or anything.
No, I don't think. I'll not kill the cat and make its tail.
No, or no rolling around in ditches with spiders and crocodiles. But hopefully, we'll manage something.
That's grand. Well, Ali, until next time, have a good one.
Same to you, Joe. Talk to you again soon.
And that was the Entertainment Exchange. Well, folks, right, okay. Here's the news. The news this week. Boy George enters the jungle. No, we're not. Well, this is something I've talked about to myself. I've talked about it to a few other people, and we're sort of... it really was me who had to make the decision, and I've spoke to Ali about it, and he says it doesn't really affect Ali because Ali's on every other week anyway, so it doesn't really affect him, and he's quite happy with whatever. I'm actually going to cut the Joe Watson Show podcast to every fortnight. It's right. When the Joe Watson Show podcast initially started, it was every week. And I did that for a while, then I missed one, and then I came back again, then I missed two, and then I came back again. And then I missed a whole 4 or 5 months, then I came back again there recently. I'm starting to feel it again. I'm starting to feel that I'm not enjoying doing podcasting, because when I'm on my own, I have to think of something, and it's just, yeah. So I'm thinking of making a super podcast, as in have it every other fortnight. So I'll have Ali, I'll have a guest, I'll have things to talk about. So that's what we're going to do going forward. Is a fortnightly podcast where we have me at the start, we have Ali, then we have a guest, and then we'll have me at the end. And I think that's because that lasts for an hour, and the podcast usually lasts for half an hour, 40 minutes. So that would be sort of like a podcast and a half every fortnight. You get what I mean? You know, I'm loving podcasting. So I don't want to get back to the point where I think, you know what, I can't be bothered, and I'm missing podcasts. If you know what I mean. Last week's podcast didn't go up to Spotify, so I don't know what happened there. Hopefully this week's does. So I don't want to lose the passion, the fire that is of podcasting that I love doing. So I don't want to be where I was at, that I couldn't be bothered anymore. So because I wasn't getting guests, so that's what we're gonna do. If it's no guest one week, it'll just be Ali, the Entertainment Exchange, and that's that. But hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be able to get some guests in. So that's big news. That's the big announcement I wanted to make. So that's it, folks, for another week. I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. From now, the podcasts have been going up far. They've been up on a Saturday, and that was because there was 1 week I couldn't get it up until Saturday, and then that messed up the whole YouTube thing where I only can upload one episode a week. It has to be 7 days apart, so that'll sort of self out. I'll be able to do put it back on the Friday. So I'll see you. When will I see you again? Don't sing, Joe. Please don't sing. I will see you on the 25th of November. All right, folks. But before all that, there's a few things you need to do. And Joe hasn't got the... Here we go.
Email the podcast at joewatsonshow.com. Remember to check out the website, joewatsonshow.com.
That's it. Any more words for you, Daisy? Goodbye to you too, Daisy. And folks, whatever you're doing, take care, be good. Bye-bye.